If it feels like the Tar Heels are having more success in the second half of games, it's because Carolina's having more success in the second half of games.
This is David Noel, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Thursday, December 18th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I am your host, Isaac Schade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thanks so much for making us your first listener watch on this Thursday to get your day going the right way. Special shout out to all our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course our insiders as well. Coming up on the show today, we take a little look at first half Tar Heels versus second half Tar Heels because there is a little bit of a difference developing. Also, FanDuel has some weird odds in the ACC regular season championship for basketball. Carolina, much lower than they should be, but maybe it provides a fun opportunity. A brand new home and home is scheduled for Carolina for next year and beyond. And man, ACC football, you just can't get out of your own way. We'll wrap up talking about that later on in the show. But let's kick it off by talking about North Carolina. I joked in the cold open, hey, if it feels like the Tar Heels are playing better in the second half, or at least having more scoring success in the second half, it's because they are having more scoring success in the second half. It had been feeling like that to me, and I said, you know what, Isaac, you know what you do when you think something might be true? You go research it and figure it out. And so sure enough, that's what I did, and sure enough, it's true. North Carolina has played 11 basketball games. They have scored more points in the second half of 8 of those basketball games, and it's by a good margin. The games where they've scored more in the first half are Central Arkansas, Navy, and Georgetown. Those games, they were +8, +3, and +7 from the first half to the second half. The other games where they scored more in the second half, Kansas, 29 more points in the second half. NC Central 19, Radford 1, St. Bonaventure 15, Michigan State 2, Kentucky 2, USC Upstate 2, and ETSU 1. The easiest way to say it to you is North Carolina in the second half is averaging 42.8 points, in the first half 37.6. So essentially, Carolina on the season is averaging 5 more points in the second half than they are in the first. I also wondered, what would this look like if I broke it down by quarters? And I know that men's basketball doesn't go that way, like women's basketball and all the rest of basketball. It's just 2 halves. But obviously, you can still break it down by how many points you have in each quarter. Carolina's highest scoring quarter by average is the third quarter, which lines up 23.1 points. The second highest scoring quarter is the first. Next is the fourth quarter, and then finally is the second quarter. So first quarter, 19.8 points average, second, 17.8, third, 23.1, and fourth, 19.7. So you see that Carolina, particularly coming out of the halftime locker room, is when they're really pouring that on. Part of it is games like the Kansas game, where Carolina scored 33 points in the third quarter of that basketball game. I mean, that's a crazy number. The lowest they've had, interestingly enough, is the fourth quarter of the Michigan State game. But if I had said, hey, guess to me which 10-minute span of this season was probably the lowest output, you might have guessed that, because if you remember that Thanksgiving Day game, Carolina allowed Michigan State to take them out of what they were trying to do. Michigan State was the team that continued to operate efficiently, operate in what they wanted to do, and forced Carolina into doing what Carolina didn't want to do. Carolina started settling for just frustrating threes, not good threes, not shots that Carolina wanted to take. And it was obvious. And so that checked out when I did all this grading, that it was the fourth quarter of the Michigan State game where Carolina scored the fewest points. So all of this, when I look at it, it starts to tell me, all right, basically, when you look at that, it's, hey, that's great. Carolina is diagnosing things well, figuring out what they need to do, locking in and doing work in the second half. And in particular, the first 10 minutes of the second half. But the problem and thankfully there hasn't been anything like last year's issues where, yes, Carolina was slow starting in the first half, but they also got down by a ton. This year, because Carolina's defense is so much better, even though they have some slow starts offensively, including ETSU the other night, they're not getting behind either at all or by much, giving themselves an opportunity in the second half. Now, I know that you've got the entirety of a basketball game, and so you can't just judge a book by its halftime cover. You got to judge it by the whole story. However, what I take away from this exercise is that Carolina needs to do much better at getting going early so that they can either run away with the game or at least put a dent in that and then just keep working it out. And it's not to say that Carolina hasn't ever done well in the first half or the first quarter, if you'll allow me that. But it's rare. You know, one of the most recent exceptions is Carolina scored 26 on Georgetown in the first quarter. That was the biggest scoring quarter of that game for Carolina. The only other time the first quarter is the quarter where Carolina has scored most was Navy and Central Arkansas in the first game of the season. That's it. So that's what I'd like to see. You know, we're going to talk on tomorrow's show about the Ohio State game. Come on, Tar Heels, come out and make the first quarter, even if it's not your highest scoring, like the second highest scoring. That would be great and really encouraging. But man, it's funny because Carolina has started with a bang at times in these games with high energy from Caleb Wilson with some dunks or Veesaar or whatever it is, but it's not always translated to a full first 10 minutes. And so that's probably one of the things Carolina needs to get figured out in these last two games of non-con play and then early in ACC play so that they can carry that into the rest of the season. So for those of you that are either all access everydayers or you are part of the Carolina Tar Heels Insider Club, then I've added this spreadsheet to our Google Drive. And so you'll be able to see all this data. It's another one that I'm going to keep up with throughout the season. And so you can come and see all this data that I have brought together and collected. It's there for you and you want to see it. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about as we get out before we get to the second segment, you know, FanDuel is one of our great partners here at Locked On. And one of the things they do is regular season champion odds for the various conferences. Of course, the ACC is one of those. It's no surprise to me that Duke has the best odds to win the ACC regular season. I'm not upset about that at all, and I understand why it is. They're at minus 120. Louisville is next at plus 260. I understand that, but it would make all the sense in the world if the team that was third was Carolina, and that they had pretty close odds, maybe behind Louisville, but not far behind Louisville. But neither of those things are true, and I truly cannot figure it out. Duke is minus 120, then Louisville at plus 260. After that, Clemson is third. I don't know if you watched Clemson, South Carolina the other night. That's not the third best team in the ACC. I'll tell you that right now. And I know that some of what's built into this is your ACC schedule, who you play, who you don't, where you play, and where you don't. Home, away, once, twice, whatever it is. But regardless of schedule, I do not believe Clemson is going to be the third team in the, like, even beyond Carolina. I think that Virginia is better than they are. I think NC State is probably better than they are. And so that doesn't make sense. But not only does that make sense, but then after, it's not even Carolina after Clemson, it's Virginia. And then after Virginia, Carolina is right now tied with NC State for the fifth best odds to win the ACC. So that's odd to me that Carolina is that far back. And then secondly, how long the odds are. Again, Duke is minus 120, Louisville plus 260. Then it jumps to Clemson at plus 1,300. And you got to get to plus 1,600 before you get to the Tar Heels and NC State. So I think Carolina should legitimately, no bias at all, just objectively. You all know I'm somebody that not only covers the Tar Heels, but college basketball at the national level. The Tar Heels are a better basketball team than NC State, Virginia, and Clemson. And I don't care what the ACC schedules for those teams are or Carolina. Their capability as a team is going to win out anyway. So Carolina should be third in that. And the odds should not be plus 1,600. I would imagine what would make more sense to me would be like plus 400 or 500 if you really wanted to have Carolina behind Louisville by that much. But still, it's weird. But hey, you know what? Maybe it's an opportunity to take advantage of. I'm personally don't bet because I wouldn't trust myself. But if you do, could be a cool opportunity, right? Anyway, and this kind of ties together these two conversations. If Carolina can start getting better starts, playing better in the first half, scoring more in the first half, making it at least more even with the second half, where again, Carolina right now is averaging 5 more points a game in the second half than they are in the first, then that could change some of the perception of Carolina's capability season long, game in and game out. Now, let's go from talking about Carolina and some of that to some scheduling that is upcoming. One of the things I've loved seeing is teams scheduling these home and homes, true campus games, and Carolina just put another one on the books that will start next year. We'll talk about that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Rocket Money, do you ever feel like your money just kind of disappears each month? It happens fast. A few subscriptions here, a few there, an impulse buy, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. Rocket Money helps you to clarify, track every dollar, and stay in control of those finances because managing your money shouldn't feel like another part-time job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and stress less. What it does is Rocket Money finds subscriptions you forgot you were paying for and then helps you clean them up, sweep, quickly. You can see all your spending on one dashboard to make it easy to understand where every penny of your money is going. I love that. I love it. They've got bill alerts, spending notifications to help you catch these small things before they turn into big expenses. So take control of your finances and cancel unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. Again, that's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listen or watch of the day and making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network. Also, look, you already live your team every day, and now it's time to take it up a level and go ad-free with Locked On. Join the brand new Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Tar Heels with no interruptions, a members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. And heck, there's another tier. If you want to get even more perks, there's the all access tier, which is $15 a month. You can check it out, lockedontarheels.supercast.com, but that link is also in the show notes. All right, a brand new head-and-head scheduled for Carolina. This was announced a couple days ago. Carolina and Georgia, the Bulldogs, scheduling a head-to-head. This is crazy for me because, you know, I grew up in Atlanta. Most of my family are Georgia Bulldogs fans. And I know my parents listen to this daily. So, Mom, this is going to be a struggle, a family struggle. Uncle Bryant, if you're watching this or listening to this, I know. Go Dogs, sick 'em and all that. But Carolina's going to have to win these. So here's how it's going to play out. You're going to play a home and home, one at Chapel Hill, one at Athens over the course of 3 seasons. Next year, on Friday, November 13th, spooky, 2026, the game will be in Chapel Hill. They will not play the next season. And then in the 28-29 season, the teams will play either in November or December of 2028 in Athens. Man, I tell you what, if you've never been to Athens, you should go to that game. It's a rad college town. Just go experience it. Really, really neat. All-time series record between these two schools. Carolina leads it 13-5, but they haven't played since 1998. So by the time they're playing that second game of this series, it'll be 08, 18, 20, 3 decades since they had played. Of course, they will have played 2 seasons earlier in 2026. Carolina has won the last 4 in this series, but again, that goes all the way back to the 90s and the 80s. So here's where I'm at with scheduling this. I truly love these home and homes. Part of it is with the ACC cutting down 2 conference games. And keep in mind, next year, we're going to add another regular season game. So right now you can have 31 regular season games. It's going to go up to 32. So that means that Carolina will play 18 ACC games and next year 14 non-con games. One of those is going to be Georgia. I like that. I like scheduling these home and homes, true road environment when Carolina goes to Athens, true road environment for the Bulldogs when they come to the Dean Dome. Like, neutral site games are great and fine. Like, you could go play this game in Charlotte or Greensboro or whatever, and it would be fine. But there's just something different about these non-conference Power 4 matchups on a campus site. So I'm all about that. I also like that it overlaps with Georgetown, but is opposite, meaning Carolina played Georgetown at home this year, and they will be at Georgetown next year. So they've got one away game, home and home series, and one home game, home and home series. But here's what I either hope Carolina will add or wish they would have done instead of Georgia. I loved having a home and home with Kansas, another elite blue blood. I would like to see Carolina schedule another one of those. Again, Georgetown is fine. Georgia is fine. But that home and home with Kansas, or the home and home with Tennessee in 2016 and 2017, the home and home with Gonzaga the 2 seasons after that, 18 and 19. Like, that's the kind of tier I'm looking for. So just trying to think off. Obviously, it won't be an ACC school, but somebody like a UConn, a Purdue, a Houston, Arizona, Illinois, Arkansas. How about Michigan State? Like, I love the connection with Michigan State or even Michigan. There's so many good schools. So like, keep this home and home with Georgia, but let's schedule another high level, like Kansas level one of these. That to me would be the ideal that Carolina could go for here, because you want to test yourself and you want to do that against some Georgetown level schools, some Georgia level. I mean, heck, Georgia's ranked right now, so I guess we can't, they're 25th in the nation. But I just mean, in addition to a Georgia, a perennial, an annual team that you think of in the upper crust of college basketball. One of those ones I'm trying to think if there's others that pop out. But you get the idea. I mean, heck, go back to Gonzaga, go back to Tennessee for all I care. It might be different now with an SEC school since there's the ACC SEC challenge, but heck, why not, And so I think the series will be a good one. I do, but I'd like to add another. And I'm curious to see how Carolina handles their non-con slate next year, because this year they obviously dialed back from the gauntlet they had last year, but it's still been nice. You've played Michigan State, you've played Kentucky, you've played Kansas, Georgetown, St. Bonaventure, Ohio State on Saturday of this week. And then some, even, we talked about it this week. ETSU is more of a bye game, but they're a team that right now is in net rankings in the same range as Georgetown and St. Bonaventure. So that's great, and we'll take it. All in all, love this. Glad to get Georgia on the books. I'd like to see another high-level home and home scheduled as well. I don't know. We'll see what Carolina is going to do in this new age, right? Like, things are changing with MTEs. Who knows how Carolina will participate? We'll see. But come on, Coach Davis. Let's schedule another high-level non-con opponent. Now, let's switch from basketball to football, because the ACC had some struggles this year in college football, as you well know, as I well know. And right now, it's like, all right, Miami slid in, but the conference champion didn't make it in, and boy, is that a black eye on our conference. So you had to do some things this offseason to make things look better, to be less confusing, and to make people understand. But the problem? The ACC just rolled out a brand new scheduling model, and it actually made it worse and more confusing. What is it? We'll talk about it in just a second. Right after I tell you about Wayfair, the holidays always show up faster than we expect. I mean, legitimately, Christmas is 1 week from today. And if you're still putting together gifts, last minute decor, getting your home ready for guests, Wayfair, man, they got you covered. Whether like we've got a party we're hosting tomorrow night. And so maybe I should have gotten to Wayfair much sooner because I don't think I'm getting it by tomorrow. But whether you need a quick room refresh or new bedding or final seasonal touches, Wayfair makes it easy to get what you need fast. Maybe I could get it tomorrow. Wayfair truly is one-stop shop for everything home with decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, and gifts for every style and every budget, all delivered quickly and easily. Plus, I love that they've got a massive selection for any of this stuff, man. You name it, Wayfair has got it. It's really easy also to shop by style, helps you pick out pieces that actually fit your home instead of guessing at what you need. It's also perfect for gifting because they've got guides, tons of options, and something for anyone on any budget. No massive delivery fees, no stress. It's the best way to get your home holiday ready all in one place. So get last minute hosting essentials, gifts for all your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Oh boy, ACC football. What are you doing now? So we knew that things were going to be changing in scheduling next year, moving from 8 ACC games to 9 conference games. And I think that's good because it gives you, part of the reason that the conference standings are often weird and you got a bunch of teams tied and you wind up with Duke and Virginia is that you only had 8 games. So adding one more should hopefully help to break some of those tiebreakers just more naturally without needing tiebreakers. And so it seemed like, hey, this might be a little weird, a little difficult to schedule 9 conference games because of other obligations that teams had already scheduled, things like that, whatever it was. And then it comes out what's actually happening, and it's worse than I could have imagined. The ACC is calling 2026 a transitional year where 12 of the 17 teams will play 9 conference games and also have to play at least one other Power 4 school, while 5 schools, including Carolina, are going to play 8 conference games and will be required to play 2 other Power 4 non-con games. So you think about this year and the conference championship game being so weird because of the ACC's so weird tiebreakers. And now, because of this inequity, you're not just going to be able to look at the conference standings and be like, well, yeah, clearly North Carolina is ahead of Stanford because Carolina has 6 conference wins and Stanford has 5, whatever it may be. You're not going to be able to do that because Carolina is going to be playing 8 conference games. Stanford, among other schools, is going to be playing 9. So it's just the most confusing thing. So what probably is going to happen is you can't just look at the conference records. You're going to have to look at winning percentage to rank all the schools and determine where everything's going to fall. So coming off a year where the ACC just continued to shoot itself in the foot by the confusion, by the lack of high-level teams, all of that, you have now just gone and muddied it up even more, just stirred the pot and said, what is instead of making things clear and obvious and easy for everyone to understand, we're just going to muddy the picture more than ever before by not having everyone play the same number of conference games. What on all of God's green goodness are we doing? Like, it just makes zero sense. The ACC, I'm looking at it right now, had to send out they had to tweet out a plan for the scheduling model, and it's like this 3-tiered thing that is going to make no sense. So It's just, and from a mathematical standpoint, I get it. They say 17-team scheduling model with 17 football playing members, rotating opponents ensures competitive balance over multi-year cycles. Not every team can play 9 ACC opponents every season. So, like, you guys, I just can't with our conference. Like, what on earth? And so, Carolina, here's what their schedule is going to be: 8 ACC games, 4 at home, Louisville, Miami, NC State, Syracuse, much more difficult than this year. And then the 4 road games at Clemson, yikes. Although if it was this year, although Carolina did get them this year and things did not go well at all, at Duke, at Pitt, at Virginia. So that's a much, much tougher schedule than Carolina had this year. And then the 4 non-con games, again, Carolina has to play 2 Power 4 schools, will be TCU and Ireland, and then playing Notre Dame as well. And then the other 2 are ETSU, who Carolina has played in basketball, and UConn, who, did they beat Duke this year or keep it really close with Duke? I can't remember how that went, but one way or another, UConn held their own against the Blue Devils. So I can't determine right now, is it helpful for Carolina to be playing 1 fewer, or would it help to play 1 more? I think my gut reaction is that because of how difficult Carolina's schedule is, if you were playing 1 more, maybe you'd get a bottom feeder, which, I guess you got to look in the mirror a little bit there, but you would maybe get a bottom feeder and have a better shot at a win. Oh man, you guys, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess, and they're going to have to come out with all these different things to try and explain what's happening, and nobody's going to understand it, and it's so frustrating. Yay! Congratulations. Welcome to ACC football in 2026 and beyond. Let's end on a happy note. Women's basketball played UNCW on Wednesday evening and absolutely crushed them, 84-34. Carolina held the Seahawks to just 6 points. 6 points in the second quarter. That's 10 minutes of basketball, 6 points. And that would be impressive if it were not for the fourth quarter, where Carolina held UNCW to just 4 points. 4 total points in the final 10 minutes of this basketball game. Carolina finishes the game on a 17-1 run. UNCW missed their final 13 field goals. Carolina defense doing it always. But also, one of the things I continue to love about this team is how they spread their offense out. The highest score in a game where Carolina scored 84 points was 16. Nyla Brooks leading the way off the bench. Sierra Toomey was second with 15. India Navarre just shy of a double-double with 10 and 9. But 6 players had 8 or more points in this game, just getting a little bit here and there. Some other kind of wild stats. Carolina led rebounding 54-29. Including 20-9 in offensive rebounding and 17-4 in second chance points. Boy, that's great. How about bench points? Carolina led the bench points 49-9. Yikes. That's great for Carolina. So the ladies are now 10-3 overall, 0-1 in ACC play. Remember, they did just play Louisville, lost to them at home. Coming up Sunday, Carolina plays Charleston Southern, and then it's ACC play after that. So very similarly aligned with the guys' schedule. After the loss last week to Louisville, Carolina falls to 18th right now in the polls. So there you go, ladies basketball, carrying on and moving on. Hope should dispatch Charleston Southern, and then very excited for ACC play because I think the ladies are going to have a great conference season. All right, you guys, that's it for today's show. Would love to hear your thoughts on that weird ACC football scheduling, as well as the home and home with Georgia, and the first half versus second half. Like, what do you think the issues are that are stopping Carolina from getting off to those starts in the first half? I'd love to hear from you about it. One of the places you can do that, you can email me, lockedontarheels@gmail.com. You can subscribe to the show on video, leave a comment down in the comment section on YouTube. Make sure to follow the show on audio as well. You could talk with me about it in the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. That link is in the show notes. We'd love to see you in there. You could become part of the brand new Everydayers Club, and that's part of where you get one-on-one text chatting with me as well. So lots of opportunities, lots of ways to get involved with Locked On Tar Heels. We'd love to have you be an even deeper part of this community. We'll talk again tomorrow on the show, but for now, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Can't wait to talk tomorrow to get ready for the big important Ohio State game on Saturday. But until then, peace.